Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. First thing I need to do is put some centers in this because we're going to turn it between centers. Well, I've been working on the process for quite a bit. I've actually got 8 muddlers done. Well, turned. And now I'm going to be showing you the enhanced process. Mark out the center. Then put a little divot in the end of it. I wish these boards were just about a ½ inch longer because they're just a little too short to make 3. So I end up making 2 out of each one, which means it adds a whole lot of time to the project. Now, we'll switch over to the lathe camera and I'll show you how I hook it up. Set it on the spur drive. Then, with the tailstock loosened, slide it forward till it lands in the dimple. Trying to crank it into the dimple is kind of difficult to get it lined up exactly. Tighten up the lock, make sure everything's snug. Want the tool rest slightly below center. Lock it down securely, make sure everything's tight, and set the speed. When you're just roughing in, you want it slow. Gotta kind of watch when you're first doing the roughing in. If you hit a knot like this, chunks can fly out. Also, these edges just break right off and come off in big chunks. Make sure your tailstock stays tight, because during this part of it, you're really pounding the crap out of this piece of wood and it'll move all over the place. One more pass, I should have it all around. Got a little bobble in it. Now what I like to do is mark out the different spaces on it. Like this is a transition point. That's where I start the rounding. This is where I start the taper. That's what the shoulder is. Here is the lowest part on the diameter. And this is where the rounding starts again, and that's where it ends. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then there's a little gap in there. Give me room to get the parting tool in. Then I start over with the next one. Now after you've done a few dozen of these things, you don't need the markings as much, but it never hurts to do them because it means it's one less thing that you have to remember. Now I take the parting tool, and I've already preset these gauges. This one matches the diameter right there where I put the mark. That's where the taper starts. That's the lowest part of the taper. So this is already to the size of what the taper should start at, so I can't take it any further. I had to take it down that far to get it to round up. And this is the smallest part of the taper, and that's going to land right there. So I got to take that down a bit. That's the size. Gotta go a little more on that one. And you can go under really quick, so that's right to size. So you don't want to go under. Now this is the cutoff point in between the two. And that's just a marking so I know where it is and what it is. I'm going to be making a radius down into that, and when I get ready to do that, I'll take that center diameter down smaller. But I want to do the turning here so that I have a large diameter to hold it steady while I'm doing the work. The other thing I want to do is make sure this is stay tight, because when I'm doing the roughing, this will work its way loose. It'll pound enough that these two centers will actually drive into the wood a little further. So lock that down, make sure everything's tight. A little more roughing to do. I got to take this end down just about that far. Still got a little bit there, but I don't want to wipe that line out. That's the end, and that's where the radius starts. That's the general shape. Just got to finish rounding off this little bit here. And there we can see a muddler. This is going to land in the low part, so that's okay. Won't hurt anything. Just barely going to make it. working with the wood. Now I go in with the parting tool and set the depths. Forgot to mark one spot. I'm by no means a professional lathe operator. Matter of fact, I just screwed that one up. But this was an extra, and this is the final piece of the actual operation. So I can afford to have this one be a little bit chewed up. So we'll just take it down a little smaller, see if we can do. Okay, we'll sand that up. Now some of you may be wondering why I'm using a paint stirring stick to rub all over the top of this. It's because I've got 50 grit sandpaper glued on the back side. When I have a grain that wants to tear up like this back here, I can smooth it up a lot easier with the sandpaper than I can trying to go in there with a tool, because the tool is going to catch and the grain is weak. And this doesn't have anywhere near the grip, so I can go in there and shape the grain a little better. It also makes a nice backer when I'm using the 100 grit sandpaper. I can come up underneath rather than trying to wrap the sandpaper around or hold it in my hand. This way, if something happens, this pulls out of my hand and just shoots out the back of the lathe, and I don't get injured. Turn on the dust collector. There. Now, since this is the part down here by the knot, this is it's a piece that we'll use here at the house, but I won't be putting it in with the rest of the parts because it's not as good. This handle is a little smaller in diameter, a little shorter. This one is the actual size. This one I tried to cheat in, knowing that I was either going to get a useful part or another piece of scrap, but I wanted to spend the time just to see if I could. It looks like it's a successful attempt. It's not as good as this one, but then it's for my own use.
This video ran longer than the usual, so we'll break this off here and pick it up again tomorrow. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.